Nice. So today we are all very fortunate to have amongst us a very exalted devotee and who has associated with so many acharyas, Pujapad Bhaktivedanta Tapasvi Maharaj from Navadip Dham. So he joined Krishna consciousness in 1983 in Boston, USA, when he was only 21 years old. And there he was the president of that temple. Imagine such a young president, 21 years old. And then he was very active in book distribution that time in that temple. And then in 1990, he moved to Vrindavan. And then eventually he moved to Bhubaneswar, Odisha, to associate with Pujapad Gaur Govind Maharaj Ji. He became his personal servant. He stayed with him and traveled with him all over India and also abroad. And he did a lot of services, which we would like to hear today about his experience with Maharaj Ji and his sweet memories with him also. And then after he left this world, he came to our Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Stotra Srimad Bhaktivedanta Shri Narayana Gosvami Maharaj Ji. And then he associated with him. After our Gurudev left this mortal world in 2010, then he came to Pujapad Bhaktivedanta Bharti Maharaj Ji, and he got involved in this all kinds of services. Also, Maharaj Ji gave him sannyas, Pujapad Bhaktivedanta Bharti Maharaj, Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Maharaj Ji. And then presently he is living in Navadip Dham in Godrum Dweep, very close to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's place, along with Pujapad Bhaktivedanta Tirandi Maharaj Ji. Very beautiful place. I went to their place where they're living. It's like so many beautiful trees, birds, and very natural environment. So I was really very happy to go there. And I do not know personally much about Maharaj Ji. I met him for the first time properly when I went for the parikrama this time. And I met him at a very, very auspicious place. That is the birthplace of our Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So at that place, Sanjay Prabhu was with me, and Sanjay Prabhu is very intimate friends with Maharaj Ji. They were meeting like bosom friends, and I was so astonished to see all that, such a loving interaction between them. And I was with Sanjay Prabhu, so I also got to see him and offer my dandat pranams to him. And he attracted me at the very first moment, the way he was meeting very intimately and even Sanjay Prabhu was giving so much regard. So I thought he must be a very, very elevated devotee. And I requested him to speak, and he very readily agreed to speak. Normally he says he doesn't go beyond 9:30, but let's see, today he has agreed to stay a little bit more for us and talk about Gurudev. So Maharaj Ji, we'd like to hear about your journey with various acharyas and how they affected your life, and what we can draw some inspiration from your life with so many acharyas and the service you did.
Dandavat pranams.
Dandavat Maharaj Ji, Dandavat.
Om Gyana Timarandasyan Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshul Amitam Jina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. First, I offer my Dandavat pranams to my beloved master, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad, the Stotra Sattva Shri Srimadi's divine grace, Guru Govinda Maharaj. To Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad, the Stotra Sattva Shri Srimadi's divine grace, Bhaktivedanta Narayana Gosvami Maharaj. And to Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad, the Stotra Sattva Shri Srimadi's divine grace, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj. And to Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Stotra Sattva Shri Srimadi's divine grace, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. And to all our Rupanuga Guru Varga, to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Dandavat pranams. Hare Krishna. So, I feel a little embarrassed to speak in the sense of Generally, we hear in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna's Kaviraj is writing about certain devotees. And some of those devotees, they didn't want even their names mentioned because they were such great Vaishnavas. And we're not imitating them, but we want to follow in their mood. And that mood is that always this anudas. So in one sense, I feel a little awkward speaking about my life, but really what we're doing is remembering those great Vaishnavas. And in the way of remembering those great Vaishnavas, it is my story, so to speak, of their mercy, their kripa on such a person. And so we may get some inspiration in that, how they encouraged me and supported and taught me. Can you hear okay, Prabhu?
Yes, Maharaja, you're good.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
So I was born in a place called Sri Lanka, and which the capital city is Colombo. And when I joined the devotees, they said, "Oh, that we have saved you from Ravan." So I had met the devotees when I was when I was there, and my mother was very interested in spirituality, and she introduced me to Bhagavad Gita. So from understanding a little of these topics, and she had written some papers on Shiva, because she was also studying these Theosophical Society. So then I was interested, and I met the devotees, and I had heard about Srila Prabhupada, Swami Maharaj. So actually my first feeling of when I met the devotees was that I felt some disappointment, actually, because I had heard that Srila Prabhupada had left in 1977, some years before. So my first, let's say, when I met the devotees, I said, "Oh, I want to spend some time in the temple." And they said, "Okay, fine, you can stay." But really, I was feeling a little sad that, or maybe I had missed the opportunity, because at that
Maharaja,
point,
where was this? Was this in Sri Lanka?
No, sorry. At this point, I'd come from Sri Lanka, and I had got a job teaching in America, in Boston. Actually, no, it was in New York State, Syracuse, in New York. I had a job. I got a job. I just kind of finished school, and I got a job teaching, and just young kids, you know. And so the head of the institution told me, "Oh, that, you know, you're good at teaching, please continue." And after some time, I said to him, "Oh, I'm leaving." And he said, "Well, why are you leaving? You're a good teacher. The students like you. We've got some letters here that their kids have written home. And so why are you leaving?" And I said, "Well, I don't really know, but I know I can't stay here anymore." And that head teacher, he said, "Oh, I understand you're searching for something." And that was the first time I realized, even myself, that I was searching for something. And by his help, I realized, yes, I am actually searching for something, but I didn't really know what I was searching for. And then I met the devotee. I went to Boston and Massachusetts, and I met the devotees there on the street. And they spoke to me about Krishna consciousness. And I was somewhat familiar with not Krishna consciousness, but the sort of ashram style, because in Sri Lanka I had seen those. And I'd been to many Buddhist temples because my mother was like a researcher. So we'd been to many Buddhist temples and Hindu temples. And so I decided that, yes, I'm going to stay here and see if these people are really, they've got good philosophy, but are they actually living that? That was my interest, really, that, okay, let me really see. And I was very impressed. Luckily, at that time in the Boston Temple, there were so many wonderful devotees. It was full, like 70, 80 devotees. And there was a real spirit of camaraderie, you know, like friendship, brotherhood, sisterhood, and that we were all working together for the greater good, pleasing Srila Prabhupada, and working in that way. And actually that left a very strong impression in my heart, even up until today, that feeling that actually you can be in a temple and work together very nicely and very smoothly and with a common goal. And the smaller things are not so important, the differences, but the actual, it's like, I don't know if anybody's been in a team. When you work together in a team, there's a special feeling that comes. Like when you work as an individual, it's nice. You accomplish, you feel that you have done something and you're proud of that. But when you actually work in a team, there's a whole different experience. And it's one of much greater satisfaction. And so in my early days of Krishna consciousness, that was my experience. And gradually, as I studied more and read more, I felt that I wanted to meet someone like Srila Prabhupada. And I had met other teachers, devotees, Vaishnavas, and that there was so much appreciation for them, but somehow or other I felt that that the management side was more important. For me anyway, this is my experience. The management side was more important than the spiritual side. I had come for, I mean, it may have not been like that, but that's how I saw it. And I had come for my relation with God. I wanted to develop that. I wanted to, I mean, my idea, because I was just, you know, foolish, that I wanted to speak to God. I wanted to, you know, be able to speak to him and for him to speak to me and to live my life like that. And I felt that I was becoming too involved in management and too involved in sort of, let's say, towing the party line. You know, this is how we do it. And this
Maharaji, how long it took you to become president of that temple? You were just 21 years old.
No. I joined when I was 21 years old.
Okay.
But then some few years later, then I became the Sankirtan leader, and then I became the temple president.
Oh.
And that, yes, I mean,
I think that's why that's why good teamwork, because the leader is the main important thing there. If the president is like this, then everybody works in the team, actually.
Well, you know, it had been run very well from a long time. Okay. There were many devotees, senior devotees there, who were much more senior than me, but they didn't want to take that position. Oh. And actually, I did it out of affection for the senior devotees, because I also didn't really want to do it. But I felt that they had helped me and supported me so much that I felt some respect and honor for them. And they were saying, you know, encouraging me. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And then I slowly was doing this, and we were doing preaching so much in the Boston area because there were so many universities. And I don't know if you know the lady Diana Eck. She's a famous writer on spirituality from Harvard University. She would come to the Boston Temple. So we had a very big congregation of a lot of intellectuals and a lot of just general people as well. So it was great fun. It was great fun because there was a lot of interaction, preaching, challenging. I mean, all the time in the Sunday feast, there were people throwing out their arguments.
Wow.
So I learned a lot, you know, by being on the spot with a lot of people and other people assisting and helping. And so, as I said, at some point, though, I felt that, again, like before I joined, I was searching for something. And I only later did I realize that, oh yeah, I am still searching. I'm in this process. I'm feeling good in it, but I'm still searching. I still wasn't satisfied. And that led me to go to Vrindavan. I thought that I must find something in Vrindavan because that's Krishna's home. So I went against the wishes of many devotees. And actually I went back to the temple to beg their forgiveness that I'm going, you know, I left in a sort of sudden way. But I had requested several times that I want to go. So anyway, I went to Vrindavan, and there I was doing seva with Mukunda Prabhu, who you may know is the head pujari in Krishna Balaram Mandir. He's also a disciple of Gurudeva. And so I spent time serving with him in different ways and praying so much. At that time, I had read different books of Satsvarup Maharaj about prayer. So I was trying to, as much as possible, pray to Prabhupada Ji and to Lalita and Vishaka on the altar there, to Radhesham, that please give me someone like Prabhupada, that otherwise I was becoming more and more desperate. You know, I was a brahmachari all through this time, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I will just live outside the temple and, you know, continue my Krishna consciousness, but outside the temple and maybe not so much involved because of this feeling of sort of not completeness. So then, yeah, I was in Vrindavan for some years and praying and just really begging. I did Dandavat Parikram of Radha Kund.
Wow, really? Wow.
You know, basically I was trying to do everything I could possibly do to get somehow or other such a Vaishnav in my life. And I really didn't have so much idea of what that Vaishnav, you know, was. But I had read in Prabhupada's book, and I had a feeling from Prabhupada, from hearing him and listening to him, that, oh, he's going to be like that, to some, you know, like that. So, so then one devotee, he said to me, would you like to go to Bhuvaneshwar? And I had heard about Bhuvaneshwar previously from some other devotees and Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. And somehow or other, just like how it happens sometimes in the world, you feel like, okay, I got to go there. You know, so I thought, okay, I'm going to go. So actually I had no money because I was living, you know, like a brahmachari. Oh. I had no money. And the one friend of mine came from America. And so I said to him, hey, do you want to go to Bhuvaneshwar? And so he said, yes, let's go. So we went to Bhuvaneshwar on train. And actually I had a motorbike at that time. So I took the motorbike with me on the train. And when I arrived in Bhuvaneshwar, the motorbike was upside down, you know, in the luggage compartment. Well, not luggage, you know, wherever they keep all these things. And so I drove into the temple, and then I met Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. And the first thing he said to me, oh, you have come. Wow. And I was a little bit taken aback because I'd never met Maharaj before. And then we asked, what seva can we do for you, Maharaj? And he said, oh, you be in reception. And at that time, there wasn't even a building properly of the reception. It was just a kind of something they were building. And so gradually, I stayed in Bhuvaneshwar, served Srila Guru Govinda Maharaj in simple ways. And then one day I was sitting, this was like after 2 weeks, you know, I was just sitting there as an observer, let's say. I was sitting there and Maharaj was speaking. He was giving class and it would be a few hours, first Oriya and then in English. And in the class, he said, which struck my heart and changed my life, was that, why don't you surrender?
Wow.
Said, why don't you surrender? He said, why are you hesitating? And at that moment, like the voice inside me says, yes, why are you hesitating? Why are you hesitating? And I thought, yeah, this is the moment. This is it. It was like so clear. It was so clear that this is the moment. This is it. I said, yes, no more hesitation. And there wasn't anything to think about. There wasn't anything to consider. It was like, yes, this is the person. And so then I stayed and served Maharaj. And it was a little austere there because we only had khichdi every day. And not many devotees were there because, you know, it was a bit austere. But after some time, the devotees bought a car for Srila Guru Govinda Maharaj. Now, this was a new car that none of the drivers in the temple knew how to drive, although it was an Indian car. It was a Tata something, I don't know what. And they said to me, do you know how to drive? So luckily, my father had taught me to drive in the jungles of Sri Lanka. That's where I learned to drive. So I was like an Indian driver, not a Western driver. And so, in fact, anyway, so so then they said, okay, we're going to go on Padayatra. So every year, Maharaj would go on Padayatra for 1.5 months in different parts of Orissa. And so I would drive Maharaj in the car. And Maharaj would say to me, how will you know where to go? And so, but because we had Maharaj in the car, there was his cook in the car, and his sevak was in the car, and then me. And so we would go in the Padayatra for 1.5 months, just traveling, and the devotees were with the bullock cart, chanting Hare Krishna, and Maharaj would stay at a circuit bungalow because he couldn't walk so well. And so at night, we would drive there to do a program, and he would speak at the programs. So this went on for like 1.5 months. And in this way, I became closer and closer to Srila Guru Govinda Maharaj, always being with him. It became like that initial awe and reverence, that kind of feeling of keeping some distance. It started to fade away. Of course, there's always that respect is always there. But I started to feel very comfortable with Maharaj. And sometimes I would suggest to him different ideas. And he would say, yes, okay, let's do that. You know, and we found ourselves often in very unusual circumstances. For example, being on Padayatra, one time Maharaj had to stay in a hotel. And I said, Maharaj, you stay here in this room. I'll come back in 1 hour and pick you up for the program. And then when I came back in 1 hour, I opened the door and all this water is rushing out the door. I'm looking in, and what's happening? And I'm seeing Maharaj, he's sitting on top of the bed,
Wow.
and there's water is all around the room. he's like in this hotel, and the room is filled with water up to the bed. And one of the pipes in the bathroom had broken.
Oh.
And Maharaj, he couldn't get out, or he couldn't do anything. So many times we were in like these funny situations. So it gave me the chance to become very close in that sense to Maharaj. And then I traveled with him in different parts of the world. And we, well, I mean, Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, as you may know, it was quite a strict person. Sometimes I speak to the devotees and they said, oh yeah, I met Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj. I knew him quite well. I heard so many of his classes, but I was a little fearful. I was a little nervous to come and actually sit with him and be in front of him. And he was also strict. Some of the ladies also felt that he was quite strict as well. Like, let's say, conservative, in the sense of them covering their head. Like, especially for the Western women, a lot of them were new to Krishna consciousness. And Maharaj had a certain standard. And so some of the ladies were a little apprehensive to come. Not that they have so much affection for him, they had that, but just, would they be able to fit in? So they're a little, and certainly at the classes he would give, the devotees would say to me, oh, why do you keep sitting in the front? Maharaj is like hammering you. Why do you keep sitting in the front? Why don't you sit in the back? And I said, well, whether I sit in the front or sit in the back is not going to make any difference. Maharaj is going to find and do that. And so sometimes devotees would be hiding, behind another devotee, so Maharaj wouldn't capture them. But so his style, you see, I became interested in communication, and the communication world. And actually, I got that interest from Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, in the sense that how I saw him relating and working on devotees in the public. Now, most devotees, they don't like it. Most people, they may feel like some public humiliation. They may feel some sort of uncomfortableness. But what I saw with Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, he did his work on the Vyasasan. He did his changing of hearts on the Vyasasan. So if there was something going on in your heart, he knew. This is also a quality I saw within Gurudeva and Srila Bharati Maharaj and Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj. They used their kind of super soul telling them what's going on with this person, and they would use that to help that person and uplift and teach everybody else at the same time. And this I'd never seen before, because this was like the first Vaishnava that I had met. And I started to see that with me, Maharaj was like telling me what my kind of anartha was, and he was making a joke out of it. And it enabled me to laugh at myself, rather than running away, rather than being so embarrassed that I didn't want to show my face again. But he made all of us laugh, roaring with laughter at the stupidity of our endeavor. And this created also a great camaraderie with all the devotees there. There was no longer a higher and lower. We were all in the same boat. We were all in the same boat, and this created a real sense of humility. Because Maharaj would often call the devotees by their civil names. He would obviously call them by their spiritual names that he's given them, but often he would be calling me, oh, Mr. Alex.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Alex, what are you thinking? Or Mr. John. So he so he would call everybody and anyone at different times. This is in the middle of the class I'm talking about. That by these names, and then we came to realize actually we're not devotees. You know, we might have thought we were kind of devotees, but we're not really devotees. And Maharaj is showing us. And that sense of trying to serve each other and of that I'm not better than you was a feeling that we all had. And it created a real sense of strong Krishna consciousness friendship, that I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to, you know, let's say, be shameful about. And in this way, why I was saying this is because later on in my life, I became interested, involved in, let's say, communication. And that's where that inspiration came from, was seeing Maharaj as a great teacher, as a spiritual acharya, doing that work that I put in, you know, like in the modern Western world, we would say it's sort of self-development or whatever, you know. But I saw such a Vaishnava doing that in the sort of traditional Vedic way with the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it was fascinating. It was fascinating because there was never a dull moment. There was never, we all felt like, I don't know if you've been in a seminar or sort of these kinds of seminars, you feel a little bit sometimes on the edge of your seat. You know? So we felt like that all the time. All the time we felt like that. And it gave a sense of adventure. Okay, I'm ready for the adventure. I put my hand up, I'm in the class, I'm sitting here. And so that meant to Maharaj, okay, you're ready. You know, you're part of the class now. Of course, he called us the pre-kindergarten class. His famous saying was that I am selling mirrors in the land of blind men.
Oh.
So he was constantly reminding us of this place to approach spirituality from humility. So then after that, obviously, after traveling with Maharaj and spending time with Maharaj, then Maharaj did his lila of leaving, and yes, on the last day, not in Mayapur, in the last few days before he left for Mayapur, where he did his lila of disappearance, that I requested him that night in his room, don't go to Mayapur, don't go, because it will not, what is going to happen will not be good. I had this strong feeling that something very terrible will happen. So I was trying to convince Maharaj not to go. And I was spending time with him. I had served him prasad. And what was strange was all the tomato chutney had run, just spilt all over my chest. And so I was seeing this as something, I don't know, personally, I just took it as like, something is going to not be good. And I was trying to convince Maharaj, then Maharaj was lying down on his bed and I was massaging him. I was begging him, Maharaj, please don't go to Mayapur. And then he said, everything, just like Swami Prabhupada, just same thing like that. He said, everything is in the hands of Krishna.
Oh.
Like almost like what Prabhupada says, you know, towards the end of his life, same kind of thing. Everything is in the hands of Krishna, knowing exactly what's going to happen.
Even our Gurudeva, I think he traveled on that Tithi where he never traveled before, last flight to Puri. And so many devotees said, Maharaj, you should not travel on this date. He said, oh, let's see what happens this also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because they already know. They know what's going to happen, and they are just going through that. Yeah. So I understood that Maharaj knew, and that So anyway, I won't get into too much detail, but ultimately Maharaj leaves and all hell breaks loose. You know, it's exactly like the Gaudiya Mutt in one sense. You know, it just, everything within a very short time disintegrated, and so much tension and politics, and it was so unexpected. It was so unexpected. It was like a shock. It was just, you know, it's like there's these other Vaishnavas, some have left their body even on the Vyasasan. And so different times this has happened. And certainly Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj was one of those times where it was, no one thought like that. But anyway, so Maharaj left, and then let me rewind a bit, because I'm now going to speak about Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. I had met Srila Narayana Maharaj for the first time in 1986.
Oh.
In 1986, a lot of devotees were sent to India, because it was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's 500th anniversary. So at that time, the authorities had requested as many devotees to go to India to celebrate this. So actually, it was a funny thing, is because in 1986, Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj went to America for the first time on one of his first tours. And that was the first time I had seen him, in 1986, Mahaprabhu's 500th anniversary. And then some months later, I was in India, and the devotees asked me, do you want to meet a sadhu? So at that time, I had met Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, as in seen him, but didn't really speak to him or anything. So I said yes. So then some devotee took me to Mathura. And that was in 1986. And then I walked into Gurudev's room, and they said, oh, he is a book distributor. He distributes so many books, and you know, he's enlivening the devotees in book distribution. And then Gurudev looked at me in the eyes, you know, those moments where everything stops and it's like frozen, in those kind of, not like a busy thing, it's just you, Gurudev, and one other person, and he looks at you. And then he said to me, yes, but have you put those books in your heart?
Oh.
And when he said that, it was something that like shook my world. You know, I hadn't even appreciated that in one sense. It was something that, you know, comes from a whole different angle. And it kind of knocked me, because I thought, my gosh, what he's saying is really the essence, is the whole point. And of course, yes, I had read the books, but he was saying, have you put these books in your heart? And that actually started, in one sense, my even deeper desire to connect with a Vaishnav. So what happened was that I had met Gurudev, and he spoke a little bit to me. And then some years later, I met him again. This was still before 1990. And I had come to Mathura, to Keshji Gaudiya Mutt, to almost like to take shelter of Gurudev. And Gurudev said to me, because I think this was at the time of some sort of, I don't know exactly the whole thing, but he said, no, this is not the right time.
Oh.
And I was like a little bit kind of bewildered and confused, is because I had felt at that time Gurudev had inspired me. And this was the kind of Vaishnav that I wanted to spend some time with. Although I didn't know Gurudev, but I felt inspired. But he was saying, no, no, this is not the right time. So I was like, okay. I mean, there wasn't really much I could say to Gurudev about that. You know, he was just like, this is not the right time. So, okay. So then some years later, again, I met Gurudev in Puri. Gurudev was coming out of Tota Gopinath. And he spoke to me, and I was developing some kind of relationship with Gurudev. And then soon after that, I was in Vrindavan, and then I went to Bhuvaneshwar, met Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj. And then Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj left. And now I'm coming back in one sense, 1996, when Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj left. And then I was in Malaysia at that time. And Gurudev came through Malaysia. I don't know whether it was 96 or 97. Anyway, one of those years, Gurudev came, and I was with Prankishore Prabhu. I don't know if you know Prankishore, but he was one of the main persons to finance the Rup Sanatan Gaudiya Mat.
Yes, yes.
You know, and so I spent quite a lot of time with him. And so when Gurudev came, he introduced me to Gurudev. And Gurudev said the same thing that Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj said. He says, oh, you've come. And then Gurudev said, oh, I know you. And I was like, how does he remember? He won't remember me. Like, you know, those like moments were just kind of brief. I mean, of course, I remember Gurudev because it was like really clear. But I was thinking, he's met so many people, you know, so many Western people. Maybe I look like somebody else that he's met or somebody. He says, you have been to Mathura.
Wow.
and he said, I know you. And immediately I felt at ease. Immediately. And that was the quality that I saw with Gurudev very, very strongly, is he had the ability to make everybody feel at ease immediately. Yeah. And, you know, with Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, I'm not comparing here, but I'm just saying with Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, there was an intensity. There was an intensity there. And there was like, he was conservative, and he had an intensity that that you could feel, you know, when you're standing in front of him. It was like a fire. It was like a fire. And he would say that to me. I would say, Maharaj, sometimes it's so difficult being with you.
I think more like Trivikram Maharaj.
Yes, yes.
He was very intense.
Yes, yes, yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, no, you knew that he could see you, and there was nothing you could do to kind of, you know, put some screen in front. In fact, there was one devotee with Srila Trivikram Maharaj. We were sitting in front of Srila Trivikram Maharaj, and this other devotee was sitting next to me, and he was asking Srila Trivikram Maharaj, oh, Maharaj, I have so much attachment to my wife. What can I do? And he said, okay, so chant. And then the devotee started chanting. And then Srila Trivikram Maharaj said, yes, I can hear that in your chanting, there's so much attachment to your wife. And we were like amazed that Maharaj was somehow or other, you know, dissecting his Hare Krishna mantra and got what the problem was out. And he said, yes. So that's, as you said, like Srila Trivikram Maharaj, you know, there was a sense of being naked.
Yes.
And I found with Gurudev that he kind of, I don't know how to put this properly, so please excuse me, but he was like playing a little bit. He would play with you. He would play so you feel comfortable, and that slowly he would capture you. You know, and his way was so delicate, I found, and so beautiful, like a flower, that he was smelling so sweet, and you became attracted to his sweetness. You know, you never felt judged by him, and you knew he was never going to force you to do something.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know, like now we have so many issues with leadership, and issues, when I say issues, I mean in the sense of, let's say, leaders that are in harmony with themselves and others, you know, and able to uplift and encourage universally, whether you're in my group or not. You know, so what I saw with Gurudev is that he always came from the place of never force. And the highest consideration is their bhakti, not the managerial position they hold. How can I help this person's bhakti? How can I uplift their bhakti? And so, therefore, there was always this sense with me and with all of us, I think, that Gurudev was our best friend, that he really did care for us, because what he cared about was our heart. And so this feeling of never forcing, and I saw it again and again with Gurudev, and I saw it with kids, especially, that their parents would want them to do dandavats to Gurudev. And they would be like, you know, grabbing the kid's head and pushing it on the floor, you know, come on, at least do something spiritual in front of Gurudev to show that I'm a good parent, you know. And Gurudev would say to them, no, 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 don't force them. And what's really amazing, I saw this one kid, this is where I really understood a little bit more Gurudev's method and mood. I saw this one child, the parents were forcing them, kid, to do dandavats. And Gurudev said, don't force, don't force. And then the parents stopped. And then there was a moment of like 30 seconds of no movement, of nothing, just silence. Gurudev just sitting. Gurudev was a master of sitting in Krishna consciousness silence. You know, he would let things go and he would sit there sometimes. Of course, sometimes he was very directing, but at times I saw him just sit, you know, and be with that person. And I saw that child do, and this child maybe was 5 years old. You know, it wasn't like a sort of Gurukul child. It was just a child that had been living at home with their parents. And this child did dandavat pranam, dandavat satstang, you know, like with his hands down front, completely flat on the floor. And Gurudev put his hand up and said, very good, very good. And I think, to me, that was the beauty. I mean, there's so many aspects, but I really appreciated that part of Gurudev, where he could inspire and uplift through him as a person, who he was. It was, you know, I hadn't seen that before. That just by him not putting pressure, it's not that he wasn't, he was purposely trying not to put pressure, but that's who he was. And that's like, you know, I don't think you can separate Gurudev from Prabhupada in the sense of, you know, how they drew out in each person the best and encouraged them. So that's, for me, then that was Gurudev saying to me, okay, come, travel with me. That's what Gurudev was saying. Come, travel with me. And he could say I was a little hesitant. And he was saying, is there any money problem? So he was like joking with me, making it light, but it was serious at the same time, deadly serious. And he had that beautiful ability to make the most serious things like possible. Because, okay, yeah, maybe I can come with you, Gurudev. Maybe I can just throw all my plans out the window, and even though I don't have anything, just come with you. You know? And so he made the impossible possible. And that I saw again and again and again. And so gradually then, so that's 96, then as you know, Gurudev had so many festivals all around the world. Now, we were not initially accustomed to paying for festivals, because previously, before that, you know, most of the festivals were in temples.
Mhm.
So this was like a new idea. It was like, we got to go and pay, you know. So we got to pay to hear Harikatha, and it actually worked really well because we had our own place and we could do whatever we want, you know, and just be focused on Gurudev and his Harikatha. So for years, we would just go, certainly in Europe, wherever Maharaj was going, and go to France and go to Holland and Italy, you know, and all the places that Gurudev went to, England. And so it became like that. That was our life, going, hearing from Gurudev. And what was fascinating, you know, was that Gurudev was speaking things that we'd never heard before. And it was like, I felt like I was learning so much. And Gurudev would, anyway, so Gurudev would joke so much. Like that one time in Aberystwyth, which is in Wales. And so Gurudev was talking, he was speaking on Krishna Lila. And then he said, yes, people are complaining that I'm speaking too much on these high topics. But I have never said, like your Swami Maharaj says, and then he got one devotee to read out in the Krishna book, that how Krishna, I think, yeah, Krishna is kissing the gopis. And Gurudev said, I have never said such a thing. And he was laughing and laughing and laughing. He said, I would never say such a thing, but Swamiji has said it. Look.
Yeah.
He said it in his Krishna book. So that sense of that you were on a journey with Gurudev, it wasn't just you were there watching Gurudev. He had that special ability to transport you completely. And that was the first experience for me of putting into practice what Gurudev was teaching of absorption, you know, in your Harinam, of starting to learn to be absorbed in your Harinam and sort of sticking with it in that absorption as much as you can. So I found that in Gurudev's classes, that's what was happening to me. I was kind of in a capsule, space capsule, and I was gone. And I was with Gurudev and he had taken us, and my heart and everything had gone. So that was like the significance that I felt of being with such a Vaishnav, is that all those things that, you know, you're trying so hard individually to do became easy because he was doing it and you were part of that. And so his example, you know, it was in so many ways inspirational and helping me. So Gurudev would sometimes come up and say things to me that were in the future that I didn't know that I was going to do or that would happen to me. And he would do that sometimes. And I would say, no, Gurudev, no, I'm not there, I'm here. And he would just talk to me like in the future, as if that had already happened and he was speaking. And I don't know, it just sort of made me more intrigued about Gurudev and more focused on Gurudev and more interested in him and wanted to really hear what he had to say, because, you know, that obviously we already knew he was something very special, but he was building on that more and more and more, and that interest was growing in me, not just of what he was teaching, but as a great Vaishnav, to explore his personality a little bit, let's say, you know, to come to know him in whatever small way. And yeah, so I would say the feeling that I got from Gurudev was the enthusiasm and the way, this is the one point that I'm remembering now, which was really powerful for me, was that we talked about how he was encouraging everybody, but the way he encouraged me, like for example, one time in Gorpanim, there there's the big Abhishek on the last day. So there's the big Abhishek, and like I'd done the parikram and I'd been chanting and praying and doing all the things devotees do, and I had felt some kind of connection with the Dham. Just one drop, something, oh yes, so beautiful. And then that evening after the Abhishek, I was dancing in the kirtan. And as I was dancing and dancing, I glanced over and I saw Gurudev looking at me. And it was one of those sort of, meeting glances. And then, after half an hour, kirtan finished and Gurudev was leaving. And he came up to me, through the crowd, he came up to me and he said something to the effect that there's more.
Wow.
So it was these kinds of things that Gurudev would do once in a while that really kind of accelerated. I don't know what it accelerated, but I felt accelerated. Mm-hmm. In the sense of that there was something happening that was, I didn't know what was happening, but there was something happening and Gurudev was in tune with it. So it was always that I brought my mother and father to meet Gurudev, and my mother said, oh, he's like an eagle. He doesn't miss anything that's going on. So in the similar sort of way, but in a very sort of caring and loving way, that I think for everybody that they felt in different ways, whether they recognized it or not, that Gurudev was encouraging them in their heart in some way. That he had that ability, specifically I feel for him and Srila Prabhupada, to be able to go into somebody's heart and to encourage them from within. Of course, the externals and different things Gurudev was doing was important, but he had the ability to just enthuse you in such a way that was out of the sort of normal boundaries. And I felt that Gurudev wanted me to be a devotee, so it gave me impetus that yes, I want to do this. I want to, because of that. So anyway, then so many things are there with so many parikrams and so many different times with Gurudev. And then, yes, in 2010, Gurudev.
Maharaji, you
Yes.
just fast forwarded everything.
Yes, well,
how about so many parikrams and so many things which happened and
well,
so many incidents?
Some incidents, some things, oh gosh, I can't even remember.
How did he make you laugh? How did he chastise you? Did he get angry at you? Did he play with you?
Yes. So many times he chastised me and got angry at me. I mean, I learned so many things from Gurudev's chastisement, that, there was a time in my life where, it was like sort of, I don't know, maybe it was like 96, I was with Gurudev, and then it came to maybe 2005. And, I was kind of, I would say, on autopilot. I wasn't really focused. I was, a devotee, but, I was kind of, I wasn't taking it as seriously as I knew Gurudev wanted me to take it. Because I think I had become a little kind of, we say in English, like blasé, as in terms of, yeah, okay, there's no rush, there's no big rush. So I'm practicing, I'm doing it, but the fire, was was so many parikrams to go to, so many places to go, and so so what happened was that there was one, what was it, Kartik, and I was going to leave early from the Kartik, like a few days.
Okay.
So I went up to Gurudev, and I was a little nervous because, I don't know, I was just thinking, maybe it's not the right thing to say, I'm going now, the last few days. And I realized why I was nervous, because Gurudev just wasn't happy at all. He was just like, what? You're leaving? How can you leave now? And he was shouting at me, and he says, no, you can't leave now. And I said, no, Gurudev, no, they're calling me. And then Gurudev said, well, no, I think it was Madhav Maharaj. He said, no, but we're calling you. Aren't you part of our family? We're calling you too. and so Gurudev, he became like, rejected me, like, turned a cold shoulder and just sort of walked off. And
like a man, huh?
Oh yeah, like in Man, that's right. And then I thought, like, my heart sank, and I tried to like run after Gurudev, and then I realized, okay, there's nothing I can do. I'm never ever going to do that again. I'm never ever going to leave early from a Kartik or a parikram or anything, because I saw how disappointed Gurudev was. That he had given his whole energy for this parikram, his whole life for us to do all this. And I was like, oh, I'm Gurudev, I'm leaving a couple of days early. I've just come to say goodbye. Hari Krishna Dandavats. That was totally missing the point. I kind of totally missed the whole, where Gurudev was going and what he was offering. So Gurudev was often on my case. And I felt, this was just personally, that I felt that Gurudev saw something in me, and that he was like saying, come on, I'm waiting. How long do I have to wait? And so like, after a while, when I saw Gurudev, it's like I knew he wanted something. And so I started, over the years, running communication seminars with the devotees. So I had done it a few times. And I had done it in 2005, 2006, 2000. So where we had a festival, I would run communication seminars for 3-4 hours, where we learned to listen, essentially, to each other, to learning to listen. And it wasn't very popular, because devotees felt it was something kind of outside of the mood of what was happening. And there were some devotees that were very enthusiastic. In fact, Shamarani Didi was one of the first people who were very enthusiastic about it. Oh. And so I started to run these seminars with the devotees. And then after a few years of doing it, the devotees invited me to come to Alachua and run an official seminar during Gurudev's program there. And I had asked the devotees, have you asked Gurudev about this? Because if you're going to officially include me, I would hope that Gurudev would want this, because there were still sort of two camps of, is this the appropriate place to be doing it? I mean, obviously I wasn't doing it during Gurudev's Harikatha, but there was, times that there was free. So so no one really asked Gurudev, from what I understood, okay. Because they're a little bit kind of nervous, I think. This is just I never really got into it with them, but I kind of felt, well, maybe it's a sensitive issue. So what happened was that I went to Alachua, and before anything, I went to Gurudev. And I said to Gurudev, Gurudeva, that I'm being invited to run these seminars. And I explained to Gurudev what the seminars were. He put his arm around my shoulder. He put his arm around me.
Wow.
And then he looked at me. He said, the purpose of these seminars is to encourage all the devotees to serve Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas, to serve the Guru Parampara. He said, if you do these seminars and they're feeling more inspired to serve the Guru Parampara, then that is beneficial. Then he said, no harm. No harm. So over the years, because of my interest in this work, I'd spoken to Gurudev about it. And at one point I said to Gurudev, do you think it's necessary in our International Pure Bhakti Yoga Society to have such an institution? And Gurudev said, do they have one in ISKCON? Which I was kind of like taken aback by. And I said, well, Gurudev, I think they are starting something like that. And then Gurudev said, yes, we should have one. And then I was starting to Gurudev, that is this like my idea, Gurudev, that I'm, suggesting to you? And, actually, do you personally think that this kind of work is helpful? Should we do this? And he said, no, this is my suggestion, is a good idea to do it. So on 2010, when Gurudev was leaving in Govardhan, when he was in that situation in 2010 in Govardhan, in the room, Gurudev wasn't coming out. He was nearing the end of his lila, this manifest lila. And I ran a 3-day seminar on communication. And there was about 120 devotees. This was the end of the Govardhan Parikram. So I'd been running seminars in between, during the Parikram for just a few hours. We had 120 devotees. And on the third day, on the last day of that seminar, there was one exercise which was pivotal. It was, it would basically bring the whole seminar to conclusion and really cement a lot of the teaching points we were trying to discuss and help the devotees with. And at that point, there was a rumor that Gurudev was going to leave. Gurudev was going to leave, and I can't remember, maybe go to Puri. So then I was thinking, my gosh, I'm in the middle of this seminar, and there's 120 people here, and they all were on the edge of their seat. They were wanting to leave, obviously, naturally. And some of them had already left. So, okay, so I was just thinking, Gurudev, if you want to leave now, then we're all going to come, and we're all going to forget all this and just be with you naturally. And so I was praying to Gurudev is that however you want to do this, Gurudev, that we'll just follow your guidance and instruction. And somehow or other, I assured the devotees that if Gurudev is going to leave, we'll all go. So then the devotees all stayed. We finished the seminar, and about 5 minutes after finishing the seminar, Gurudev left. Gurudev, got in the ambulance, I think it was, and then left the building. And we were all able to be with Gurudev. And so why I'm saying this is because I just felt that there was this support from Gurudev. you know, from my perspective anyway, is that Gurudev wasn't going to leave until everything was completed in terms of his parikram and the programs of the parikram. And so that way I always felt that Gurudev was there supporting and contributing to the work that I found of interest. And that's what also inspired me with Gurudev, was that he didn't try to make you do something that you didn't, you know, naturally like to do. A surrender, of course, we might resist that in terms of, when I say surrender, I mean in terms of, you know, taking a risk, you know, doing something that, going from our comfort zone into more of a risk zone, taking more responsibility. So anyway, so there was many different situations where, yes, Gurudev chastised me, but his chastisement was always to encourage me to in one sense take on more responsibility for myself as an individual, to take myself seriously. Firstly, you know, first you take yourself seriously, and then you can contribute in some way. So at times people had said to Gurudev, oh, you know, that he's not doing as much as he could. And Gurudev, you know what his reply was? I mean, it really touched my heart. He said, he is all right. Leave him alone. And, you know, anybody could have said, okay, come on, you can do a bit more. But by him saying that, it got me more inspired to rise up. And that was so, you know, that is so.
They had his very unusual ways to inspire people, not like regular ways, how normally people do it. He would do it in a very subtle way.
Yes, exactly. And it was almost, and it was that obviously he knew us and was being inspired. So anyway, then Gurudev, yes, anyway, I'll speak a little bit about Srila Bharati Maharaj. So then Gurudev left in 2010 to Aprakrat Leela, and
were you there in Puri, Maharaji, when he was in Puri?
Okay. No. I was there in Govardhan, and then I didn't go to Puri. And yes. So I don't know, you know, for me, like when Srila Gauragovinda Maharaj was leaving, I was very close to him all the time. And Srila Gauragovinda Maharaj specifically said to me, don't come. You know, that's when I knew something was wrong. That he, you know, that he said, don't come. And with Gurudev, Gurudev didn't say anything to me like that, but personally, I was appreciative of not to be there with Srila Gauragovinda Maharaj and Gurudev, although it was obviously very auspicious in that sense of being with the Vaishnava, but I personally didn't want to be there at that time. With Srila Bharati Maharaj, it was different. I was there, you know, with him at those last, you know, for all that time. So Gurudev left in 2000, and he did his disappearance Leela in 2010. And I had gone to Navadvip. No, I'd gone to Mayapur to meet Srila Bhakti.Tirtha Maharaj. And Srila Bhakti.Tirtha Maharaj put his hand on my head and like blessed me. And devotees were speaking to him a little bit. I walked out of the room and I met Srila Bharati Maharaj, who I had no idea who Srila Bharati Maharaj was. I'd never met him before. I'd never known him. I didn't know of his relationship even with Gurudev, even though he had spoken, you know, at Gurudev's Tirobhav. but something told me that this person is going to help you, which I attribute to the mercy of Srila Bhakti-Vallabha Maharaj, and obviously to Gurudev, but there was no way that I was going to figure that out. And so from like day one, it was easy, let's say that, oh, okay, this is the person that's going to help you. So at that point, Srila Bharati Maharaj wasn't like a high profile personality, let's say. He was like a simple Vaishnav in the Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Mutt, obviously a significant and well-known personality amongst most of the Indian devotees. And anybody who kind of knew a little bit about the Gaudiya Mutt, they would know Srila Bharati Maharaj. But, you know, there wasn't, let's say, any fuss around him, you know, in that sense. And so I realized that I need to take the association with this Vaishnav. And I spoke to his secretary at that time, who was Srila Bhakti Kinkara Damodar Maharaj. And Maharaj spoke English fluently. So I was speaking with him, and I don't think any Westerner had at that point traveled with Maharaj. They may have met him in different places, or, you know, sort of met him in different, but I don't think, I think that idea of somebody traveling with them, especially a foreigner, was completely new. And so I knew it was going to be difficult for me to kind of get on the team, so to speak.
Yeah.
So what I did, I was praying to Gurudev, please send me somebody that can get me inside that team so I can be part of that team. Because I knew that I wouldn't be able to just sort of talk my way into it and they would accept me, because there was too many kind of obstacles, as in terms of the number one, that I was a foreigner and that, you know, I wasn't very high up on the list. You know? So I was praying, Gurudev, please send me somebody. And so what happened was wonderful, was Bhakta Sarup, I don't know if you know him, Prabhu, he's from Holland, he's Indian, and he's a disciple of Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj. And he's a very kind of charismatic, joking person. But he's serious, but his character, his personality is kind of fun and joking and laughing. So he came. And so it was him and me, and we were talking to the Srila Bhakti Kinkara Damodar Maharaj. And then one moment, Srila Bhakti Kinkara Damodar Maharaj, he said, oh, I like you two. Why don't you come traveling with us?
That's good.
So somehow or other, we went. And then so we, with Srila Bharati Maharaj, he was, again, a very different personality, a very, very different personality. And there were challenges for me to spend time with him because of just different external arrangements. And so I was constantly trying to spend time with Maharaj in different places. And basically what Maharaj did was that I sort of got to live with an acharya, and by living with the acharya, the effect they have on you just does something. I know we've all heard this before, but anyway, Maharaj just, through being with him, I suppose essentially what happened is I became detached. You know, by Maharaj's association, which was incredible. And a lot of the times he was speaking in Bengali. And at that time, there was no translator. We didn't have anybody translating. And then he would speak in Hindi at places, and there was no translation. So for the first 2 years, I would say that I really didn't understand Maharaja's Harikatha. And but it didn't matter to me. It didn't matter to me. Because when I was with Maharaj and serving him all the time from 6 in the morning to 10 at night, there was everything I needed. Everything. And it wasn't so easy at times because Maharaj liked everything perfect.
Oh.
He was quite strict in terms of how things should be done. So if I made a mistake, it wasn't good. You know, not that he would shout at me or anything, but I would know that I've made a mistake. And so what that did to me was made me become very, you know, I know maybe this word is overused, but it made me become very, let's say, Krishna conscious, you know, as in terms of being present, you know, like focused, just no second for my mind to waver, to go somewhere else in his association. So what I would do before I go into his room, I would be like an Olympic athlete. I would kind of compose myself. I had to do it consciously. I had to do it, you know, I did it consciously every day, that I'm going to step into this room now. And if I act in an unconscious way, I'm not going to be in harmony with Maharaj. I'm going to be in some way out of harmony with him. And what I noticed with Maharaj is that if I could be in harmony with him, there wasn't so much need for words. There was a natural flow and a natural understanding that would be going on. So it took me quite a lot of time to kind of put myself in the right place, mentally and spiritually, to serve Maharaj. And that kind of training really kind of focused me inside. You know, when I'm saying these things, you know, it sounds like, oh yeah, Maharaj, you're really focused now. And I'm not saying I am focused, but I'm saying from 0 to going to 1 is a huge thing. And that focus helped me to be a lot more sensitive to myself and other people. That I could start feeling other people, what they were feeling, because of what Maharaj was teaching me. Because at one time he said to me, he asked me, oh, how is this person? And I said, oh, Maharaj, I don't know. Because I didn't even know that person he was talking about. I'd never heard of that person. And then Maharaj said to me, don't you care? So it was these little messages that Maharaj was giving me and the experience of being with him that was making me more conscious of myself, of my unconsciousness, and then a way to become more conscious, because I saw how conscious he was with everybody. And he told me the story of that some people came to see him and he was asking about their welfare. And they were telling Maharaj about their welfare and how things were. And then they went to see Srila Bhakti-Daita Madhav Maharaj. And when they went to see Srila Bhakti-Daita Madhav Maharaj, Maharaj had asked them, Srila Bhakti-Daita Madhav Maharaj, asked them, how are you? Is everything okay? And he started asking questions and they started crying. And they started crying and crying and sobbing. And then Srila Bharati Maharaj said to me, at that point, I understood that I was not caring enough. That I had asked them the same questions, but I didn't touch their heart. But my Gurudeva had asked them same questions, but because of the great compassion and empathy in his heart, they were able to get relieved in one sense. So that's what, you know, although Maharaj had an exterior in one sense of a little kind of distant, let's say, you know, quite conservative and not like Gurudeva, as in, you know, communicating, engaging, joking, and, you know, he could capture anybody, Gurudeva. You know, there just wasn't anybody that he couldn't capture.
True.
Because he was just so tricky. You know?
Yeah,
just
totally true. Exactly.
You know, and he would do anything. He would even make himself look silly.
Yeah.
So he could somehow or other, you would be a part of that.
So Bharti Maharaj never joked anything or...
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
I never seen. Yeah, he was mostly very serious,
yes,
calm,
yes,
composed.
Yes, yes. Yeah. In English, we call it like stoic, you know, very grave. And that's why a lot of people were a little sort of apprehensive to kind of come close.
Yes, Maharaj. Even I also missed a lot of opportunities because of the same reason. Now I regret that I should have been more close to him. But as you said, exactly the same thing. That Gurudeva was so much intermingling with all of us, and
Yes.
And Maharaj was very little bit aloof.
Yes.
But it's very difficult to understand Vaishnavas, and sometimes you miss the opportunities, which I did actually. I could not intermingle so much, even though I met him, but not so much.
Yes. Yes, because, you know, one time some Russian devotees came from Russia in Chandigarh, and they spent a week there. And they said, I saw them packing their bags. I said, where are you going? It's only just the 1 week of Kartik, you know, and now you're leaving. And they said, oh, we don't feel like we're connecting with Maharaj. You know, and I didn't even think. I just grabbed them and I brought them into Maharaj's room. I said, Maharaj, they're thinking of leaving. And Maharaj spoke to them for half an hour.
Oh.
And it changed their whole life.
Wow.
Because they realized, oh my gosh, you know, we can have a relationship with Maharaj. But it sometimes was a little challenging for devotees, you know, and some devotees knew how to do that and, you know, figure that out. And some, like this other one devotee, came to Maharaj, said, Maharaj, please give me initiation. And Maharaj said, I've never met you before. And he said, why should I give you initiation? I've never met you. You don't know me. We haven't developed in a relationship. And that devotee, he started crying. He said, Maharaj, I've been praying to Srimati Radhika for 1 year. He said, come tomorrow. I'll give you initiation. So if you showed some heart,
yes,
then Maharaj would reciprocate immediately in so many different ways. And, you know, that even though so many devotees came to Maharaj in the end, he knew, like when giving out prasad, what prasad each person would like.
Oh.
Don't give him this. Oh, he likes that one. Give him this. Give him that. Oh, give him that. So his way, in one sense, externally to show affection was to know what you liked and to facilitate that for you. And so Maharaj, that I'm going to end in a minute. So Maharaj, he was very unique in that way. And what he taught me and showed me was, well, many things, but how to have some kind of inner reserve, you know, how to find some strength within to go through the ups and downs of life. And his steadiness and his encouragement, showed me that often. So yeah, there's many things with Maharaj, but...
So Maharaj, you got close to Sanjay while serving Bhaktivigyan Bharati Maharaj?
Yes, that's where I came to develop a very deep and loving friendship with Sanjay Prabhu.
Okay.
Because he was there serving Maharaj. And I saw, you know, I don't know if I should say this even, but you see, when, like, I saw how much Sanjay Prabhu loved Gurudev.
Yes.
Not, I mean, I saw it when he served Maharaj.
Oh.
And that touched my heart very deeply. That this person who is a strong person, he's completely melted his heart to Gurudev, and that he's dedicated his life, you know, and that just, I felt so appreciative of that. And the way that he served Srila Bharati Maharaj, I saw that he was serving Gurudev, you know. You know, of course he was serving Srila Bharati Maharaj so many beautiful ways, but I saw that he was serving Gurudev, you know, in one sense, again, for me anyway. And I saw the love in his eyes and heart. And I saw that when Srila Bharati Maharaj was leaving, Sanjay Prabhu, again, going through so much, like all of us. And, you know, when you're in a situation of, let's say, trauma, you know, externally speaking, whatever, you know, you become very close to people.
Yes.
You know, there's something happens where everything is dropped.
Yes.
And you're suddenly close to that person, and you'll never not be close to that person, you know, even though you don't see them for some time or whatever. So there's certain things you pass through, experiences, times. It's a kind of spiritual, you know,
Come together.
Come together, yeah.
Like
Under the shelter of Sri Guru.
Gurudev used to explain this about that Govardhan Leela. Like this was emergency and everybody came together and they felt beautiful. Close, gopis felt close to Krishna, like that.
So beautiful. Exactly, Prabhu, exactly. And that's what I love being with the Vaishnavas, is because they have that umbrella that you're all under. And if that is one point, if we're trying to serve under that, the feeling that you get in serving is like no other feeling in this world. There is some sense of that, you know, Sankirtan of Mahaprabhu, of being together and focusing not on ourselves, but on something bigger. At the same time, loving and appreciating the other person. You know, it's like inconceivable. Yeah. So I have made many, well, I mean, I've made some close friends because of being with the sadhus and seeing the devotees' hearts. That's what's so beautiful. You actually get to see the devotee's heart.
One thing I noticed, Maharaj, you have never been living alone. You've always been in very good association throughout.
Yeah, that's because I'm full of Maya. You know, Srila Gauragovinda Maharaj used to call. Anyway, but yeah, so they know. In fact, one time I asked Srila Gauragovinda Maharaj, I said, Maharaj, I am such a bogus person and I'm driving you in this car. How is it possible? And he was laughing and laughing and laughing. And he said, Guru knows what's best. So I think that they know, like even I was sometimes resistant, hesitant to go on Padayatra. Like before there was the car, before anything, like, oh, do you want to walk on Padayatra around Orissa? I was kind of feeling, well, I don't know if I really want to do that, you know. but then the car came and suddenly I was 100% involved, you know. There wasn't one moment. So it's like they make these arrangements, the Vaishnavas make the arrangement because they know that, okay, you need a bit of help, you know, to get that enthusiasm to dive in. So yeah. So I've been, yes, fortunate in that sense. And fortunate, you know, that the mistakes I have made, which are many, that they have still been within the Sadhu Sangha. And I have learned that in one sense, on an equal footing, from all the Vaishnavas' teachings they have given me, at the same sense, the mistakes I have made with the Vaishnavas and them teaching me have been tremendously helpful for me. That I have, by their grace, you know, they've taught me through those difficult times. And that has created like a very strong bond. Yeah. Because you feel like, wow, they really saved me, you know. Yeah. So thank you, Ruth, for
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. You really inspired us today, and it's so beautiful to hear from you. You are so much experiences. You started with saying Dasanudas, and this is one thing I remember. Once I was hearing Srila Guru Govind Maharaj's lecture, and he used to speak so loudly and firmly. So suddenly he was talking, oh, you consider yourself low. He makes hand gestures also. So this really gets into your mind and it sits there. And he was saying, low, or lowest, consider yourself lowest. That is very good for spiritual health. And the first thing today you said Dasanudas. So I just remembered that video where Maharaj was speaking like this.
Yes.
And I really remember this teaching that always consider yourself lowest of all. And that is very good for spiritual growth.
Yes. I mean, that's the only way you can lead, by being an example. That's what I was saying with Gurudev, that in terms of leadership, Gurudev taught me so much in the sense of, if you want to lead, you've really got to be the example. And that example is that Dasanudas. And that can actually change your life and change others' life. So the atmosphere can be spiritual that you're in.
Yes.
Yes.
So that was really nice, which touched my heart. Then you talked about teamwork and how it's good to work in a team. Yes, that's really wonderful feeling.
Yes.
Instead of working for own self, if you work for one goal, for Guru and Vaishnavas, really nice. And then you talked about various argument and shastras in Boston, which is very rare nowadays, actually. I've hardly seen any argument and shastras like that. It would be really interesting. I can imagine how people would argue and have some shastrat.
Yes.
It used to be there like 200, 300 years back in India, but now I never hear all these things.
Right. Yes. Because Boston was called the Boston Brahmins, because there was traditionally a lot of theosophical and Vedic study going on there, because Boston was a very sort of intellectual place. So you would often get these Advaitins and different kinds of sannyasis and different people from Harvard University coming and, going for it.
Yes. And then another thing which touched my heart very much is the prayer which you made to Lord Krishna. Like, it's very important to know what we should pray for. We don't know actually what we should pray for, but you figure it out so early in your life that you are praying for a very high Vaishnava association.
Yes.
Once Ramchandra Prabhu was telling a story, and Gurudev, he was going to do the parikrama. He said, what are you going to ask? He said a list of all the things. I will ask for bhakti, I'll ask for this, I'll ask for... Maharaj said, you ask for one thing, which will have everything. He said, you ask for association of a very high-class Vaishnava. That's it. Wow. It'll give you everything. Yeah. So that is what you desired in the very beginning, from so early in your life. And it kept you going and in association with so many big acharyas. And you said you became desperate, begging. So these words are really strong words, which shows your heart, how much longing you had to get that association. If we have this kind of feeling, any of us, we will surely get that association. It will appear in front of us. But problem is, we don't have this kind of feeling of being desperate and begging. And then what parikrama you did, which is really amazing, Maharaj. I mean, I'm astonished, especially for a foreigner, to be so austere to do a Dandvat Parikrama. That means you are really, really crying for that association. This is what is basically the qualification to get something actually in life. You should be crying and longing for it. Really beautiful. And then you moved to Bhubaneswar, how you came there, And then the first meeting with Maharaj you described was so powerful. Oh, you have come.
Yes.
As if he was waiting for you
Right.
for long.
Yes.
So this is how acharyas, they actually wait for you. And they know where you are navigating through life and where are you coming. And then you said, why don't you surrender? What is your hesitation? So these strong words from Acharya, they have so much effect on the whom intended to. So, and how you stayed there eating only khichdi every day is amazing. And the other thing you said, how he worked from Vyasasana. Like he did not postpone his work to go to his room and do it. He would do right then and there from the Vyasasana. He would chastise if required. He would appreciate if required. So this qualities of great Acharya. And this another thing you very nicely described, how Maharaj will expose everybody's anarth in a laughing way. And everybody felt at the same level because everybody got nude now. Everything came out, and which made so much comradeship between all the disciples. So these are various different ways of Acharya to work on a disciple. So nice.
That's right. You see, I mean, just on that point, you see that, even in very advanced kind of communication work, there's some certain exercises that you do to kind of make, the sort of underlying tensions come to the surface and to be addressed. Now, that's exactly what Srila Gaudiya Maharaj was doing, but in his way.
Yes, he had his own way. I mean,
yeah.
Like you have been, I think you learned all these things formally, communication,
yes,
corporate style, like mostly such seminars and corporates.
No, well, it wasn't to corporates. It was to individuals. I would get groups of individuals and bring them together. And then, so it wasn't to corporates. No, I steered clear of that. I wasn't interested in that.
But these seminars, generally they are done at corporate level, like in the company.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes.
So that's very important. Communication is one very important part of management. Yeah. And then you described how Maharaj would do self-development with fun. So much fun, laughing way. And then you said it is adventure all the time and you have to be ready for it. I mean, I can imagine that you don't know what's going to happen today, tomorrow, and you are looking forward to something like astonishing adventure.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
It's fun all the time.
Yes, that's right. When I would be traveling with Maharaj, I couldn't wait to get out of bed in the morning. I was just like rushing.
Excitement.
Excitement. I got to go see Maharaj. It's just like run.
That's what they say. They live life every moment full. I mean, each moment is full of life. And then how the beautiful statement Maharaj made, selling mirrors in the land of blind man. This is also a very interesting statement by Maharaj. Yeah. Then you met Gurudeva in 86, and then his first thing he said is, have you put that book in your heart?
Yeah.
I mean, look at the statement Maharaj makes. Like
exactly.
You've been selling books for so long, but one statement is pierce your heart like this and make you think, oh, have I done that? No.
Right.
So it will make you think and change a different angle of vision. It will give immediately. And again, Maharaj also said, you have come. So yeah, you also said that you never felt judged with Maharaj, and he had such beautiful, subtle ways. Yes, Gurudeva was so expert in dealing with people. He would respect each and everybody. I see even a small kid to the biggest person he would respect. Yesterday, 2 days back, we had Sajjan Maharaj on the program.
Okay.
And he said he would regard me like his god brother because he was initiated from Prabhupada. And he would respect me like a god brother. He said, first time when I went for his massage, he did not let me do it. He said, no, you're my god brother. So these kind of respect Gurudev would have for everybody. It's amazing.
Yes, it is. It is because why it's also so amazing, briefly, is because we often lack that ourselves.
Yes,
exactly. And it seems easy, but actually it's so difficult.
Oh, you spoke so many things. I got so full page written down here. There's so many nice things.
Very good. Thank you.
So you also called Gurudev master sitting in Krishna consciousness, silence.
Okay.
Yes, he was a master. Just by his mere presence, he would do things like
Yes.
the Dandavat Pranam incident you described, how the small kid, I mean, he did not even tell to him and he just did Dandavat Pranam. I remember once like this, I was walking back from morning walk in Mathura from Dampier Park, and he was just walking and two kids were walking in front of him and they looked back and Gurudev just smiled at him. He said nothing. And both the kids, they said Radhe Radhe. And then
Wow.
Maharaj was quiet. And then Ramchandra was walking next to him. He asked him, what do you call a person? By looking at him, you start taking the name of the Lord. And Ramchandra Prabhu said, oh, that's Uttam Bhagavat. So Gurudev was just indicating very subtle ways.
Yes, yes,
He didn't
yes.
speak anything and they started saying Radhe Radhe. Yeah.
Right.
Then
Yes.
Maharaj said, come travel with me. You have money problems. So this is how he used to joke. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
With everybody, he would joke like this. I mean,
Yeah.
beautiful. And
yeah.
then you said you were in a journey with Gurudev. You are all absorbed in Harinam. Yes, you whenever you're with Gurudev, you're always like in travel with him. You're not observing from outside, but actually you're taking part in that journey with him. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Then
yes.
you describe very beautiful this space capsule. I mean, I was taken aback. It was like a space capsule. He took over your hearts and he took you for a ride, actually. Space ride.
Yes,
Over.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
And he was doing it and we were part of it instead of doing individually. This statement is also very powerful. You made the statement that, yeah, he was doing it and we were just part of his doing.
Yes, yes. I mean, that's what I see now. It's like we're trying to chant and do these things, but you know, you can only really go like maybe a few steps forward and a few steps back.
Yes. Once during Parikrama also, I remember he said that you think you guys are doing Parikrama. He said only one person is doing Parikrama here. Only I'm doing Parikrama. And rest everybody is doing because of him. Beautiful. So he said that very openly. Then he gave encouragement in the heart from within. And you talked about autopilot. Yes, most of the time we are like that. In fact, I see my life. I was on autopilot for so long. Yeah. And suddenly you wake up, oh, and then you start taking things seriously. Yes. And then there's some fire starts coming. If there is no fire, then it is very difficult, I think, in bhakti to progress anywhere. Most of the time we are relaxed and we are on autopilot. Okay, it's happening. Things are going on. Let them go on. So for a large part of my life, I was like that. I just recollect with Gurudev also, I was like somewhere else. I mean, not with him. But now I regret so much that I could have done so much service and so many things because of lack of fire. But now a little bit fire, I can see it is coming. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, that's what's so beautiful. It's like there's no such thing as missing the chance. It just another one comes. Are you going to take it? Oh, okay, I'll take this one. You know, and it may be different as in terms of Gurudev physically being there.
If you get a second chance, you're more careful and you remember what all you missed during first time. So
and you're a bit older, so you think I've got much time left.
Yeah. Maybe next birth then. Probably. Okay. And then you serve Guru and Guru Parampara. That is what you said.
Yes, that's what Gurudev's instruction was.
Yes.
Yeah, that's always the barometer, you know. Are people really feeling more enthusiastic? If not, okay, let me look at what I'm doing. Yes. You know, something.
So we should also look at this statement that are we serving a Guru and Guru Parampara? Are we enthusiastic? If we are not, that means we are not doing what it's supposed to be done.
Yeah, it means that there's something wrong with our sadhana. You know, there's some mistake, Gurudev would say, some loophole.
Yes, Gurudev said there's a hole in that pot, and the water is leaking from there.
That's right. So we have
Maharaj,
to. Yes.
Thank you so much for wonderful thoughts which you presented to us of so many acharyas. It was like associating with all those acharyas and getting their mercy also. And we got to remember Gurudev. And are you doing any programs now, any preaching or what kind of some seminars?
Not any seminars. It's more I'm speaking. I mean, a lot what happens is devotees call me and I do tend to speak to quite a few devotees on terms of their own challenges and their own spiritual journey. So yeah, quite a few devotees call me. So that I put time for, because I feel that's important. And in terms of contribution, I do speak at different times and read sometimes some books with devotees and discuss. I like having some shastra there and that we discussing that. I find that very fulfilling for everyone.
So do you do like a class or something, or like if
it's not really a class, it's more of a discussion.
Okay.
I mean, okay, I'm leading it, and I'm sort of bringing the books and different things together, but I want it to be a discussion rather than.
So Maharaji, do you have any timings for that if people want to join, or they can just call you up and talk to you?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to kind of expand it too big, you know, because it's what I find in small groups. It's easy, you know, in this particular area to do that. Of course, we can give classes and speak, and that's different. But when you're talking and sort of examining and trying to feel it rather than just to understand it, it takes a certain pace. You can't go fast, and you've got to give time for the process to be moving inside. Mm-hmm. So it's
Maharaji, a lot of people are asking for your number.
Oh gosh, no, that's terrible.
They want to take some guidance from you, maybe.
Anyway, yeah.
So I can share your number with everybody?
Sure.
Okay, I'll write it here for everyone's listening.
I mean, my thing is I go slowly. I like to go slowly. And I find that if I can go slowly, then there's so many jewels that are on the bottom of the ocean.
Okay, I've shared your number, Maharaji, 75868742447. Okay. So, yeah, I think I've given on the chat. So anybody wants to connect with Maharaj, what's a good time to talk to you? They shouldn't bother you all the time. So
thank you very much. Best time to call me is actually between like when I do most of my calls with devotees and discussions and all those sort of things is between 2 to 4 p.m.
Okay, 2 to 4 p.m. is good time. So all the listeners who want to call Maharaji, please remember 2 to 4 p.m. is the best time to call him. And he's not on WhatsApp. So if you want to...
Yeah, I am on WhatsApp.
Oh, sorry, you're on WhatsApp.
Yeah, but actually the number, that Indian number, is just my phone number. But let me find it for you. Hold on.
Yeah, because I don't have a WhatsApp number. That's why I used to give on Telegram.
Acha, okay.
This number is on Telegram, the number which I have.
Yes. Okay, so I think the best thing is, where is my WhatsApp number? Hold on, I'm missing my phone. 1 minute from this. Oh, okay, here it is. 1 minute. Okay. Okay. Contacts. Okay. I think I'm going to have to send it to you.
Okay.
Because
if you can read out, everybody can write it
phone down. No, but I can't even get it. It's a UK number for WhatsApp.
Okay, it's fine. You can text me, then I can text anybody you want.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. I think anyway, I'll send it to you.
Okay, Maharaj. Okay. So anybody wants this WhatsApp number, they can contact me. I can give it to them. Yeah. Otherwise, this is Maharaj's Indian number, and 2 to 4 is the best time to call.
Yes.
Okay, Maharaji, thank you so much for being with us. And sorry, I got you late. It's like 10 o'clock. But you spoke so nicely, so I couldn't stop. I
appreciate you.
So thank you, Maharaji. Thank you so much. And I offer my Dandavat Pranams to you. And please have your blessings on my head and all the other listeners, so that we can also progress like you have done, and we can follow on the footsteps of our seniors. Dandavat Pranam, Maharaji.
Dandavat Pranams for me.
Bhaktivedanta Tapasvi Maharaj Ji ki jai. Shri Gurudeva Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Savi
Gaura
Bhakton ki
Bhakta,
jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Jai. So tomorrow and day after we are taking off, Saturday, Sunday. Monday again we will meet at 8 o'clock with some other devotee family.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So don't forget to tune in at 8 o'clock on Monday. And thank
Okay.
you very much. Gaur
Thank you.
Premanande Hari
Gaura
Hari.
Premanande, Hari Bol.
Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai.
Jai.
Thank you.